Can you see me? I'm here. I know I'm camouflaged. I'm in the Stuffies. And guess what week it is? It's sewing week. I'm so excited to teach my 5th graders and 6th graders how to sew this week. I'm calling it Sewing Week, which is basically Shark Week without the sharks. So this week we're going to be sewing our very own Stuffies, like this one. Oh, hi, I have a living friend. Now that you've collected all your materials, we're going to get ready to design your unique version of a stuffy. I've created this template. You're welcome to take a screenshot of this and use it. Notice it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And basically, any stuffy you design should be about the size of your hand. We've only been saving dryer lint since the beginning of our quarantine, so it's only been 6 weeks. So we don't have a ton of stuffing. So you want to make sure that it's this size or smaller. You can design your stuffy with ears, or you can move the ears down and let them be arms. Maybe yours doesn't have ears at all, and maybe you design with an oval face like this, but maybe you don't use the face. I made mine two-sided so you could see 2 versions, and you just add button eyes. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want, but make sure that no part of your stuffy is skinnier than about 1.5 inches, because if it's too skinny, it's kind of hard to put stuffing in and it's difficult to sew. Notice that I cut my template out and I didn't even worry about the ears. You can trace the ears onto a separate sheet of paper if you really need to know that exact size. Now I'm going to lay this down on my fabric. In this case, I'm using an old pair of sweatpants belonging to my son. And I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance around my paper template so that I can leave room to sew. Otherwise, my stuffy will get much smaller. So I've got to leave that 1/4 inch seam allowance so that I have room to sew. What does a 1/4 inch look like? Maybe we should ask a math teacher.
Hey, 6th grade, I'm here to help out Miss Bloomston a little bit because you guys are doing a really cool sewing project that involves a 1/4 inch seam. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew what a 1/4 inch was. So the first thing you guys need to know is you're going to probably need a ruler for this, all right? And rulers are broken down into inches. Can you guys see the inches here? All right. Now you might notice that there's a bunch of lines. In fact, there are 16 lines for every inch. What you need to pay attention to are the big ones kind of in the middle and towards the front. Obviously, this middle one here is cutting the inch in 1/2. That represents 1/2 inch. What you guys are going to need to be focusing on is this medium-sized line kind of in between that 1/2 and 0. That represents a 1/4 inch. So you guys are going to have to leave about a 1/4 inch seam. And if you take a look at my ruler I have here, I actually helped you guys out. I looked around my house to try to find something that's about a 1/4 inch, and check it out. A pencil, like your normal standard pencil, is about a 1/4 inch wide. So when you're making those 1/4 inch wide seams for Miss Bloomston, maybe use a pencil as a guide for how wide you need to make it. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Waller. So now you know that a 1/4 inch is basically the size of a pencil. The first thing you need to do is cut out your paper pattern. Don't worry about the ears, you can cut right through them if you're using this. Otherwise, you're going to want to draw your pattern and Sharpie it onto paper. So now that I've traced my template on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to start cutting out my sweatpant leg. First I'll cut through, cut off the bottom. I want to cut through both layers of fabric at one time. Now you see, I have a front and a back. I've decided that I want to add an oval face to this sweatpant stuffy. So I'm going to freehand an oval out of this inside fabric from the sweatpants. The next thing we need to do is sew the face to the body. When you thread a needle, sometimes it helps if you lick the thread and get it through the tiny hole. If you struggle to get your needle threaded, you might need to get an adult for this. Working from back to front, I'm going to put my needle into the back, knowing that I'm going through the face, and pull all the way until the knot stops me. Then it's a matter of going down and up, down, and then back up. I like to make mine kawaii. I learned that from my daughter. It means cute in Japanese, and oftentimes kawaii things have eyes that are very far apart and very small, and then a little mouth right in between. You can do this several ways. You could draw your eyes with a Sharpie. You could use buttons, or you could use a needle and some dark thread to stitch them down as I did here. Again, working from the back to the front, find where you made your drawing, sew from back to front. Don't pull too hard or it will pucker your fabric. Gently make several overlapping stitches. I like to tie mine off on the back by making a loop. Let me do that again. Without going through the front, you can even go under your stitches that you made. Make a loop like that, and then fish your needle through it 1, 2 times is fine, and then pull, sliding the knot all the way down. Now we got to make the other eye, but we could cut this thread and start over, but we have this tail, so we might as well just go find the other eye on the other side and start like this. Here's the important thing. Don't pull too hard or that will happen. That will be bad. And I have a very adorable stuffy front. I'll show you what an ear looks like. You would just make 2 rainbow shapes, kind of like a tall, skinny half circle. You see I put the wrong sides together of my sweatpant material, and I would put that right there. But first, I have to sew this in place. And you can go around just like as we did before, going in through one side, out through the other side. That's a running stitch or a straight stitch. Another way kids like to sew a lot is to go around the edge with a whip stitch. So you go in through the bottom, out through the top, in through the bottom, out through the top. Now it's time to pin your creature together. If you've made ears and they're really floppy because you use quilting cotton, you might want to add a little bit of stuffing or dryer lint inside to make them a little bit more stiff. If you pin, you go from the side, down through all the layers, and back out. Down through all the layers, and back out. Making sure to capture your little ears inside that pin as well. You want to start sewing on the side, starting here, leaving about 1.5 inches gap, about this big. You're gonna start and go all the way around with your sewing needle and stop, leaving a hole tying a knot and leaving a hole so you can put your stuff. Our stuffy has been sewn with a little bit of a gap right here on the side to fill it. If you've been collecting dryer lint, you can use that to stuff into the opening. I'm going to finish stuffing mine with this polyfill because I happen to have a lot of it. You can use dryer lint, cotton balls. Now all we have to do is finish off our stuffy by closing up that hole. So with your needle and thread, putting a knot, you can actually hide the knot on the inside, and we're going to sew that edge closed. Now you know how to make your very own stuffies. I hope you have fun. If you want to make a pillow, it's the exact same process, just a rectangle. Make sure you make it small enough so that you have enough stuffing. If you want to make an ice rice, same thing, just a rectangle, and you fill this end, you keep this end open and fill it with old rice that you're not going to eat. I have some that's rancid in there. And then sew it up, put it in the freezer, put it on my head on a hot day. It feels so nice. Or if you have an owie, an injury, if you're hot in the summer, these always make me feel better. It was a pleasure to sew with you. Have a good day. Happy sewing.